2018 brought to us Hereditary, director and writer Ari Aster's feature film directorial debut, a chilling tale about a family working through intense grief after the horrific death of their daughter Charlie, alongside supernatural appearances and the realization of their family's connection with a cult. Its creepy, slow horror nature bought it a slot as a top horror film of all time. I'll be honest and admit, when I first saw it in theaters, I hated it. It wasn't until a few years later that I began to appreciate the cinematography and realize the underlying themes, and it quickly became one of my favorite films of all time. Hereditary, as the name implies, is about the various things we inherit from our ancestors. For the Graham family, Steve, Annie, Charlie, and Peter, it just so happens to be the involvement in a supernatural cult, ties to the devil, and severe mental illness. The movie highlights the inescapability of our heritage. A recurring theme throughout the movie is Annie's mini sets and figurines that she spends hours working on, just to destroy by the end of the film. The Graham family is very similar to these figurines, being set up and used by an outside force, and eventually physically destroyed. The infamous and emotionally charged dinner table scene, where Toni Collette delivers an outstanding performance, marks the beginning of the family's unraveling.
You okay, Mom?
The tension has built up since Charlie's death, as we have not seen the family confront each other about the traumatic event until this point.
Is there something on your mind?
Peter takes a long time to work up the courage to talk to Annie,
Is there something on your mind?
and attempts to let her open up about how she has been feeling.
It just seems like there might be something you want to say.
He knows she wants to say something to him,
Like what? I mean, why would I want to say something so I could watch you sneer at me?
but she just throws it back at him.
I've tried saying
Okay, so
things.
try again. Release yourself.
Oh, release you mean?
Yeah, fine. Release me. Just say it. Just fucking say it.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother! All I do is worry and slave and defend you, and all I get back is that fucking face on your face!
And is quite toxic in the delivery of her feelings.
You can't take responsibility for anything!
Here, we have the first wide-angle shot of the scene. This objective view is used many times throughout the film, creating tension and distance between us viewers and the characters, and serves to remind the audience that there are outside supernatural forces at play. The characters, like Annie's figurines, are pawns being set up and used by Annie's mother's cult. The wide angle is used again at the end of the dinner table scene, and the tension it creates reminds us that what is happening to the family is inevitable due to their heritage. We are given information about Annie's background and are explicitly informed of the mental illness and toxicity that runs in her family.
My mom was old, and she wasn't altogether there, and we were pretty much estranged. She had DID and dementia. My father died when I was a baby because he had psychotic depression. My older brother had schizophrenia. When he was 16, he hanged himself in my mother's bedroom, and of course his suicide note blamed her.
She's completely manipulative.
And how, just as their connection to the cult, these things are inevitably passed down to her as well.
And I can't forgive, because nobody admits anything they've done!
The toxic family dynamic is apparent in the dinner table scene, as Annie continues to push Peter away and make him resent her, just as her mother did to her. However, this is where the hereditary nature of the traits end, as there is a difference between inevitability of genes and learned repeated social patterns. Annie makes the choice to act the way she does towards her son, with full knowledge of how she resented her mother for how she was treated. Many things in her life may be inescapable, but her actions and words are under her own jurisdiction. In the film, the scene that follows is Annie in her workshop days later. However, there are a couple scenes in the script that are omitted. It is apparent why they are left out, as it is mostly Steve attempting damage control. They relay things already made aware in the table scene, like Steve's disapproval and regret of Annie's words and actions, as well as his sympathy for Peter. However, there is a line in one of the omitted scenes that is of note. Steve calls Annie out for how she is treating Peter, and tells her that her actions are not the right choice. The use of the word choice here really drives home the theme of inevitability versus making choices that perpetuate past cycles. Hereditary is not just a film about the things we inherit from our ancestors, let that be mental illness or supernatural cult ties. These things may be inevitably inherited, but things such as toxic or abusive social patterns are learned and can be broken, no matter how difficult. Hereditary does a great job of 1, reminding us that there is a difference between inevitable outcomes and repeated social behaviors, and 2, warning us about what can happen if we don't make active choices to end the cycle of abuse.